Today we are going to be talking about euthanasia. How many of you know what euthanasia is? This is my audience member, by the way, and my camera person. Thank you. Euthanasia is lethal injection. Let me show you how lethal injection works.
Happen to Muhammad as these drugs are administered to him. So what does happen exactly? When they're administered, will Muhammad feel anything?
Well, he probably won't feel anything, and there's a real orchestrated sort of administering of the drugs here, something that's been tried and tested over many, many years, but it really sort of relies on a sequence of 3 drugs that have to be given in the right doses and in the right order. The first medication is a medication called sodium thiopental. You don't need to remember the name, but basically it's the same medication they use in hospitals that typically put someone into a sort of medically induced coma. You can see it going into the body there, Virginia. First thing it really seems to affect is the brain more than anything else. Sort of shuts the brain down, takes away the senses. To your question, that's why he doesn't really feel anything, but it really sort of starts to put the whole body to sleep, including the heart. Your breathing slows down. He really is kind of asleep, unaware of everything. The next medication is very critical. It's called pancuronium bromide. Remember, this is a paralytic medication. Very critical to be given as a second medication. This is also given through an IV, so an IV has to be placed. And then this medication is a paralytic. It paralyzes all the muscles, Virginia, including the diaphragm. And that's critical because the diaphragm is what you use to breathe. So he essentially won't be able to breathe on his own anymore after this medication is given. But look, the heart is still beating with this particular medication. Finally, the last medication is something known as potassium chloride. We've all heard of potassium. One thing that many people may not know is in really high doses, when it's given again through the IV, is that it causes an abnormal reaction in the heart. The heart simply can't conduct electricity the way it normally does. Take a look there. The heart starts to quiver, and that's probably what leads to death, ultimately. The heart simply can't anymore. And that whole process that I just described takes just a few minutes, usually less than 5 minutes.
Wow. What if...
According to euthanasia.com, euthanasia is a real controversial issue that some people condemn while others embrace. Because this topic concerns not only the individual's right, but the morals, the laws, and even the family. It is a topic that has been debated for a long time, but cannot come to a conclusion. For those unfamiliar with euthanasia, it means good death, like you put somebody to rest who are in pain. But many people are against it. There are several issues when it comes to euthanasia, like religious concerns. The first, you gotta have it on me. For example, Christianity, the belief that all life is created by God, follows as is. God chooses who to die. We have all been created by God, and therefore we should not question. Life is a given gift and should therefore be treated with reverence and is not our own to take. So only God can take your life. So most people believe that only God can take your life. So, okay. And it is also against the Hippocratic oath. I swear, they tell like doctors and stuff to swear that I swear to practice medicine ethically and honestly. And it's like an oath, and it says, I will give no deadly medicine to anyone if asked, nor suggested in any such counsel. So you have to. So for others, it may be a different story. It hits home in a different way. Other opponents fear that if there were laws to regulate euthanasia, that it would be abused, and people who don't want to die would be killed. But mostly moral biases, there are absolutely no moral truth. What is true for you may not be necessarily true for me. Euthanasia is not for everyone, but it can come to an aid, like financial issues. Instead of paying for somebody to be in the hospital for like a really long time and they're in pain, you can just lay them down. They lay dogs down, but I'm not comparing humans to dogs. But you should embrace euthanasia. According to Medical News Today, in order to be effective, They have to involve investigations of the patient's psyche, his family dynamics, and the financial implications of death, along with more obvious things such as the patient's medical condition and the likely course of the disease. Patient eligibility. You have to be 18 years or older. You have to be a resident, capable of making your own health care decisions, diagnosed with a terminal illness that will lead to death within 6 months, physically and mentally capable of administering the aid in the dying drug. With this approach, it can be a very clear way. Evidence. Today, in many countries, there is a shortage of hospital space, which is one of the reasons people want euthanasia, you know? Mm-hmm. Medical personnel and hospital beds could be used for people whose lives could be saved instead of continuing the lives of people who want to die. Increasing the general quality of care and shortening hospital waiting lists. As it relates to the many debates going around this time, take this topic into consideration. Utilize this information and what you hear from debates, because it is your choice now. Who says it will be later, you know, because you're dying. To sum up my speech, our deaths are the most personal and solitary experience no one else dies with us. How can we say that a human suffering is more important than any other creature? But like I said, they put down dogs when they're in pain and they call it mercy. Why can't you call it mercy for your older grandparents or great-grandparents? I cannot grant her the same mercy. It should be every person's right to choose how they meet their end. Thank you for listening to my speech.